Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ascendancies in early access for PoE 2. GGG has released the official post about all the Ascendancies, and we are going to go into a bit of a breakdown. I'm going to give you my thoughts about the Ascendancies that I think are going to be really good based on the Ascendancies themselves, nothing else, so no theory crafting, no nothing. And which one I will play and which one I will do like later, and some which I wouldn't recommend for like beginners. I will do that after like every segment. So without further ado, I also have a notepad here just to break it down as well. But for Sorceress, we have Stormweaver and Chronomancer. For Stormweaver, out of all the 10 ascendancies, we have the ascendancy number 1, extra exposure, that gives us additional 20%. 4 and 5, basically this node here, heavy snows and shaper of winter, we get 50% stronger chill, and we can also affect 2 chills. So when you do the math, when you lose the magnitude, which is like an effect, you get 50% stronger chill. Strike twice, Shaper of Storms, double shock, which is insane, but they last shorter. And constant gale plus force of will, which is Archmage. So for 8 and 9, we have Arcane Surge for more cast speed, and we have and we have number 9 is here, increased effect of Arcane Surge per maximum mana. There's a defensive layer of elemental damage taken recoup as energy shield is number 10, and that's good. I would recommend Stormweaver for people who want to do Elementalist and just go Elemental. You can play whatever you want with her, because all damage from kits contributes to chill or contributes to shock. So that's basically Ascendancy nodes 5 and 7 here, and she is really easy to manage. The only thing that I'm unsure about with like nodes is the Tempest Caller for Elemental Storm for the new spell that can have other spells socketed in it and other like trigger effects and so, probably not trigger, sorry, the other like support gems and such triggered in it or put in it to trigger. That one I don't know how it's going to go. Like, it thematically looks good, but overall we have to play to find out. Keep in mind, once again, this is all based on what I've seen and what we've discussed on stream. So that's it. When it comes to Chronomancer is something I like. It's an ascendancy I would not recommend. However, Chronomancer has a very quirky set of interactions, which I personally like. But we have here nodes 1 and 2, so these like long ones, very good with long cooldowns. So these give skills have chance to not consume a cooldown and gives a reset cooldown. So if you use abilities, let's say you use 3 abilities or something with like 10-15 seconds cooldown, and you don't proc the cooldown, the now and again, then you use Time Snap and you activate them again and the cycle starts anew. So that's where I would use it, as it does, like, there's no point in using it on abilities that have short cooldowns. So if there's like a support gem that gives you more damage but increases the cooldown and such, it can do a nice interaction here. So I like that kind of playstyle where you have to do a little bit methodical, and then if you get all the resets, Jesus take the wheel and just kaboom, the entire map, which is really fun. Then when we talk about the other nodes, we've got 4 and 3, which I don't know why they've called 4 and 3, it should be 3 and 4. Time Freeze and Return Back in Time is basically your hardcore part where you can freeze even bosses and such. Now, node is the node number 5, which is every 12 seconds gain 50% more cast speed for 4 seconds. I think this one is going to get a buff to be every 8 seconds. This works, I think, the same as Focus does in PoE 1. So you have a Focus that when you press, you are focused, and you have 4 seconds buff, and then 8 seconds cooldown, and then such and such. So this should be the same thing. So 4 seconds buff, 8 seconds cooldown. It would be better if it was 4 on, 4 off, for like 8 seconds total instead of 4 on 8 off, but we will see how that plays. Currently, for me, it's a meh node. When it comes to conditional 3 and 4, that's basically time freeze and such. And we have another layer of defense with 7 and 8. Oh, pardon, 6 first. If it's action speed slow, it's great defense. This is enemies in your presence are slowed by 20%. That's basically nearby radius, I suppose. And 7 and 8, another layer of defense, which is a life recoup. 30% of damage taken recoup is life, and recoup effects instead occur over 4 seconds. Recoup is basically if you get damaged by 100, if you have 30% recoup, you're going to heal back the 30 damage that you've taken back. Now, as I said, Chronomancer is quirky. I would play her with long cooldowns. Of course, we have a lot of time to test these out. This is not going to be my main character to play in main Ascendancy, but for those of you who would enjoy this kind of playstyle, try it out with long cooldowns, try it with short cooldowns, and do tell me how it goes, because it seems so interesting to play the right side of the tree, though. The left side is more defense-oriented because of time stop. Hardcore players rejoice, that's for you. Okay, when it comes to Warrior has Titan and Warbringer. Titan is basically your two-hander specialist. You can either go one two-hander, or if you choose the Keystone, two-handers, but that increases attributes. But when it comes to Titan is kind of sort of soft-locked into going slam builds. So we have defense nodes, which are nodes 1 and 8, so the alone nodes, which give 50% more armor and more maximum life. Clean nodes. In the middle, we have nodes 4 and 5, which is carry a chest with adds 20 inventory slots. Backpack users rejoice. And 50% increased effect of small passive skills. This will help with two-handers because of the doubling of attribute requirements. When it comes to 2 and 3, we've got 20% chance for aftershock, so which is effectively double damage, 20% chance for slam skills to cause aftershocks. They do the same damage, so 20% chance for double damage. And number 3, every second slam is ancestrally boosted, which gives it 20% more damage in area of effect. It can double dip. It's a very, very good node, so I suppose you would pick this one and go big slammy boy. 6 and 7, however, give you more stun and more damage when enemies are stunned. So you get crushing blows and more damage against heavy stun enemies. You have it all written here. Crushing blows cause a heavy stun on enemies that are primed for stun. And those that are primed for stun basically have like a stun build-up. When the bar builds up, the enemy just goes immobilized, whatever, and then you can hit them for 40% more damage. So you would go 2, 3, 6, 7 most likely, unless you're doing something special like 2, 3, 4, 5 for, as an example, two-handers. This one is a good beginning one if you like strong melee character with slams. Otherwise, you can basically sort of skip it for the other archetypes until we figure out what to play with and how the tree is going to look like. When it comes to Warbringer is your fully defense-oriented ascendancy. It's like sword and board, you can swap the shield and such, but it's focused on defense. You have Jade Heritage, which is you cannot move, but you cannot take damage. You have break armor equal to 10% of hit damage dealt, and you can break enemy armor to below 0. That's basically like reducing their armor. However, people have said to me that break armor functions for the next hit. So one hit you break armor, second hit it consumes it. I don't know exactly how it's going to work. So these two nodes are going to take testing and what they've written. But you can break enemy armor to below 0. So if you have other sources of removing enemy armor, this one might be a great debuffer, especially if you play with like Warbringer and Titan at the same time in a group of 2. That would be excellent. Now, when it comes to Ancestral Spirits, we get Ancestral Spirits when we summon a totem. That's each of your totems will summon a minion. If the totem minion dies, the Ancestral Spirit dies too. And 20% damage hits taken from the totem. On the other side, 6 and 7, we have base chance to block. So this one is added block. And if you take 7, less block chance, 35% less, and can block damage from all hits while shield is not raised. So basically, this is natural block like you have in PoE 1. That's how it should work based on the wording, but we shall see. Otherwise, you have to like raise your shield in order to block. 8 and 9, we have corpses that explode when you Warcry and ignore Warcry cooldowns. So the rotation will be hit, Warcry, stronger hit, hit, Warcry, stronger hit. You can do that one. This one is completely defense-oriented. I suppose hardcore players will use this one quite often, but I wouldn't recommend this one between the two. I would recommend going Titan. Next one, we have Ranger, and we have Deadeye and Pathfinder. Deadeye didn't have any significant changes based on what I've seen here. We have chance to, if we gain frenzy charges, we gain maximum, and benefits from consuming frenzy charges have 50% chance to be double. So if you have 3 frenzy charges, it has 50% chance to do 6. I don't know how this one is going to work. This one is a conditional, so we will have to test it out. Next one, full accuracy. You have no accuracy penalty at distance, so basically you don't have to invest any accuracy on the tree. Very, very, very good node. Next one, you have the choice between point blank and far shot. These two is basically, point blank is you deal more damage closer you are to the enemy, up to like 0 when the enemy is far, and far shot is the reverse. 0 damage while enemy is near, and more damage when enemy is far. Next one after that one is skills fire and additional proj, which is very good. Extra proj is great. 6, however, you can apply an additional mark, so we can use like 2 marks total, which can boost our damage significantly. And then, as we are used to it, Gathering Winds for Tailwind. However, Tailwind is a stacking buff which grants increased movement speed, skill speed, and evasion rating per stack for 10 seconds, and Wind Ward gives us less damage taken per Tailwind. So this is just a general Ranger Ascendancy. This is going to be my main Ascendancy that I will play at start because I'm used to it. I will most likely go with 4, 5, and probably 6 and 3. So 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm probably not going to go 7, 8 because of the skill speed and such. It's movement speed I don't really care about. And I need to test how the Avidity and Thrilling Chase plays, so we have enough time to go. But I will most likely go 3 to 6, and I want to play like an Ice Shot Ranger, basically like a cold freeze, probably point blank type of character. Anyways, Pathfinder is a little bit iffy, if you ask me. We have some general nodes, 1 and 2, for more flask charges, and life flasks are now enduring flasks, so they do not queue and they can carry on, which is really good, and the effects are not removed when unreserved life is filled, so enduring flasks, awesome. 3 and 4 are poisons and double poison, so the most damaging poison is spread, so poison prolif, and double the poisons. So this also gives a less poison duration. This is great for, like, I think it's called Cloudburst Arrow, or if you're doing Poisonous Concoction, so it's wonderful for those, and it's always going to reapply the strongest 2 poisons instead of 1. However, here's where the problem with Pathfinder, in my opinion, rises. You have nodes 3 and 4 that are poison oriented, yet you have 5, B, C, D, and E, which are shock, chill, fire, and bleed flasks. So effectively, 3 and 4 are a waste completely if you choose to go any concoction other than poisonous. We'll see how that's going to look like, but these have to be way stronger natively to replace this, but we shall see. Otherwise, you would just go the other thing. One notable thing is number 6 is grants 5 passive skill points, so that's basically Scion. You get 5 extra passive points, which is awesome. 7 and 8 is basically less movement speed penalty when using skills while moving, and your speed is unaffected by slows. Those are basically conditionals if you want to use, but yeah. This one, I would need to see people test it out and play out with different concoctions. If you want to do Poisonous Concoction, you would do 3, 4, 5A, and probably 1 for flask charges gained. Or 6 if you can find flask charges on the tree. Next one, we have Witch. Witch has two ascendancies, one which is a more relaxed ascendancy and one which is more, in my opinion, skill-based ascendancy. Now for Bloodmage, Bloodmage is very, very simple. You use life to cast spells, so skills gain a base life cost equal to base mana cost. This is the only ascendancy that you have to pick the first node no matter what, and then you have 3 nodes to play with. That's basically it, because you're a Blood Mage. Now, you must pick it. When it comes to number 2, which is a standalone node, 10% of spell damage leached is life, which is amazing as we are using life to cast spells. Number 3, another standalone, your curses have infinite duration. This one is like, you can always reapply curses. It's like, if you say it's a DPS loss, sure, it is a DPS loss, but you can always reapply curses if they last 5-10 seconds, like, If they last a second, that's a different thing. Number 4, another standalone node, is gain 10% of damage as extra physical damage. However, elemental damage also contributes to bleeding magnitude. We have elemental bleed now. That's how this reads. So if you deal 100 elemental damage, it adds another 10%, 110%, and that now can bleed. This can be crazy good, or it can be crazy trash. Requires testing. On the left side, 5 and 6, we have crit damage bonus per 40 life, and base crit hit chance for spells is 15. As we are going to be life stacking on Blood Mage, obviously, as we use life and we gain life orbs when we kill enemies, we are basically going to get critical damage bonus. That's crit multi. However, base crit chance for spells is 15 instead of 7. That's a huge, huge bonus to have for. Let me go back to talk about Overflow. Overflow Max Life is basically an additional health bar that can be filled up to double of your health bar resource. It works for health bar, energy shield, and mana, as we have so far heard from Jonathan. Now, when it comes to the right side, 7 and 8, we have 25% of life loss from hits is prevented. That much life is lost over 4 seconds. Instead, it's basically a free progenesis in the ascendancy. That's why I'm laughing. So free progenesis. And 8, gain energy shield from equipped body armor is extra maximum life. So if you go like a huge amount of energy shield, then you have a huge amount of life as well as a bonus, of course. This is a great ascendancy to play, as you can basically make it work with anything. As what I've seen here, just a life stack and everything works. So that's great. However, Infernalist, though, is probably going to be my second ascendancy that I will play. And I have found Infernalist to be very skill-based oriented ascendancy. I like it, I want to play with it, not at start, but it's going to be quite interesting. So we have the nodes here. Number 1 node on the left is Altered Flesh. Cold, Lightning, and Fizz get taken as Fire, Fire, Chaos. So that's basically it. It's a defensive node. And then you have 2, 3, and 4, which are 25% life reservation, and they give 1 max mana per 6 life, 1 max spirit per 25 max life, 1 max energy shield per 8 max life. This is going to be a calculation metric with uniques, with passive skills and everything. So pay attention to these 3. I would probably recommend going 1 and then 3, so that you can fit extra however much spirit per life, so that you can get additional minions or an aura even. But I cannot say anything about these, as these are so conditional that we have no clue about them. Then you have number 5 and 6, which is the demonic form, demon form. Shapeshift into a demon, boosting the power of your spells, but you take Demon Flame. Basically, Demon Flame is fire damage that is taken from your life at an ever-increasing rate. It stacks to infinite, apparently, and the demon form stops when you reach 1 life. So you can either play around with it, or you can limit it to 10 stacks by using Mastered Darkness. We have maximum 10 Demon Flame. If you're not lazy to press a button from time to time to do the same thing, then you and incur a cooldown, then that's one thing. If you want it, if you want to press the button, then you can play. If you don't, you can use the Demon Flame. So we will see how much this increases, but it's a very, very cool mechanic. It's sort of like RF. Next one, we have 7, 8, and 9. 7 is maximum mana is replaced by maximum Infernal Flame. That's like the charge up bar. So whenever you cast a spell, you gain Infernal Flame. But you take max life and energy shield as fire damage when Infernal Flame reaches maximum. We don't know how much this one is going to be, but it can be a significant chunk. However, lose all Infernal Flame on reaching maximum, obviously, and 10% of Infernal Flame lost per second if none was gained in the past too. So it's a managing system. It's basically like a flowchart managing, and 8 and 9 boost it a lot more. Number 8, while not on low Infernal Flame, this should be 35%, all damage from you and allies in your presence contributes to Ignite chance and magnitude. So above 35% low, 35% Infernal Flame, you get Ignite chance and magnitude. Magnitude is basically effect, as I understand it. Number 9, while on high Infernal Flame, that should be like above 80%, you and allies in your presence gain 20% of damage as fire damage. This is conversion. This is not as extra. This is just conversion. So 20% of damage, fire damage, until they clarify that it is extra. And number 10, here we have our Loyal Hellhound. Basically, you summon a minion that takes 20% of damage from hits from you. And 11, become ignited when you deal a critical hit, taking 15% of your life and energy shield as fire damage per second, and more critical damage bonus. It doesn't say for how long. It doesn't say anything, but when you deal a critical hit, you take damage, but you get 30% crit multi. This is why I say this one is going to be skill-based, because of all the managing systems and everything. Very good Ascendancy, but the conditionals are killing it for now, because we need those uniques, we need the passive skills, we need the items to make this one work. I would say this one should be one of the best Ascendancies for endgame, once we figure things out how to play with it and with her, but currently, based on the Ascendancies alone, it feels like the puzzle pieces are missing. So that's Infernalist. When it comes to Mercenary, Mercenary has Witchhunter and Gemling Legionnaire. Witchhunter is basically your boss hunter. So Witchhunter on 1 has 20 passive skill points become weapon set skill points. This is not giving you points. This is taking your passive points and making it splittable. The same thing as we get for weapons. We get 6 to 10, I think, if I'm not sure. If I'm not correct, do correct me, sorry. I'm not quite sure. So we get those for weapons, but when you get additional 20, let's say you have 30, then you can respec the tree wildly with different weapons, which is very, very good. 2 is Culling Strike, easy. So Culling Strike is 5% at unique enemy, so lower than 10, but 30% at normal and 20 at magic, rare at 10. Number 3 is Decimating Strike, which when we attack full life enemy, we remove between 5 and 30% of their life before the damage of the hit is applied. You can cheese bosses, enter the map, get to the boss, hit it, you hit for 5%, you can leave the map, enter map, again, restart the boss, and do so until you run out of portals, but there's no need to do that, that's completely fine. 4 and 5, we have enemies have maximum concentration equal to 40% of their max life. Break enemy concentration on hit equal to 100% of damage dealt. Enemies regain 10% of concentration every second if they haven't lost it in the past 5 seconds. This one is a bit complex. Enemies have less cooldown recovery rate the lower their concentration, scaling down to 50% less cooldown recovery rate when concentration is 0. The wording is iffy, but TLDR, the more you attack an enemy, the more you break their concentration, the less casts they will do. So if they have like a firestorm every 3 seconds, then it's going to be every 6 seconds because it's 50% less. Or pardon, it's going to be 4.5 seconds. So keep that in mind. This is basically to make them cast less spells over the course of, let's say, a minute. Or the fight. And No Mercy, deal up to 30% more damage to enemies based on their missing concentration. This is just a pure damaging buff. Keep in mind you have 5 seconds of an attack timer, so that's absolutely fine. Next, 6 and 7. You get Sorcery Ward. This is like Elementalist in PoE 1 shield, so Elemental Shield, but you get 50% less armor and evasion rating. 7 boosts the shield, 50% increased effect, and it recovers faster. 8 is chance for enemies you kill to explode, dealing all of their life as physical damage. Chance is doubled against undead and demons, basically against beyond enemies. Now, when it comes to this Ascendancy, I would definitely recommend this one. This is a very, very, very fun and easy Ascendancy to play with. So, go wild. Yes, boss hunting. And the one that is going to be, again, in my opinion, one of the top 3 builds with Infernalist at the end game, absolute end game, when we figure things out, when we see the min-maxing potential and stuff, for now, is Gemling Legionnaire. This one just boosts the ever-loving stuff out of gems. Quality with number 1. Number 2, plus to all of them 1 level. Number 3, we get less cost of skills and they have more attribute requirements. This is going to be for cast on crit setup, cast while channeling, or whatever else cast on meta skill gem setup. Number 4 is 3 additional skill slots, so you can use 3 more skills, which is insane. 6 links extra. Number 5, you can use 2 copies of the same support gem in different skills. Basically, you can have the same gem twice instead of just once. Same support gem twice instead of once. Very good. 6 is defense, max cold, fire, lightning res per sockets, which are supported gems socketed. 7 is attribute requirements of gems can be satisfied by your highest attribute. And 8 inherent bonuses from intelligence, strength, and dexterity are doubled. Basically, you can do this as a stacker. The reason why I say this one is going to be very skill-based is depending on the player's skill and how they can utilize the additional skill slots, support gems, and such, this Ascendancy will go wild. So pay attention to that. It's an awesome Ascendancy, but it will go wild. So good luck, and I would not recommend this one to start. I would recommend the Witchhunter. And the last but not least, we've got Monk, we've got Invoker and Acolyte of Chayula. Invoker is going to be one of the better classes to play. It's like Pseudo Warden from PoE 1, and it has a lot of good things. Number 1, we gain Spirit for every energy, 6 energy shield, 15 evasion rating on body armor, but we cannot gain Spirit from equipment otherwise, so beef up that body armor. 2, evasion rating also grants physical damage reduction, but you get 40% less. This is amazing for those fizz hits. It's just pure defense. 3 is Meditate. Meditate recharges energy shield and overcharges it to double. So you can double your normal maximum of your energy shield, and you just use it before a fight, double it up, and just carry on. 4, 5, and 6 are connected. 4 and 5 are nodes that give 10% of damage as extra cold on freezing enemies, create chilled ground, and 5 gain 10% of damage as extra lightning and chance to create a shocked ground on shocking enemies. So basically we are collecting those ailments. And then 6, Unbound Avatar, which we collect Unbound Fury for when we inflict ailments. Then once it reaches the maximum, you activate it and you gain a ton of damage that's purely elemental. 7 is Meta Skills gain 35% more energy, which means we can activate cast on whatever 35% more often. Sunder My Enemies, number 8, and number 9, critical hits ignore non-negative enemy monster elemental res. If you remember from Inquisitor in PoE 1, that's basically that node. So if something is positive, you can then shred it to 0. Insanely good. And number 9, Elemental Expression, which basically triggers an additional bolt of lightning, fiery projectile, and whatnot, proportional to your strength, dexterity, and intelligence. This one will take testing. However, Invoker so far looks extremely good to go like nodes 4, 5, 6, and as an example 8. So that would be great. Or you can go like 5, 6, 8, 1, and we could choose whatever. There are no real mistakes here. Whichever you pick is really, really good. So I would recommend Invoker as well. And the last Ascendancy we have is Acolyte of Chayula. This is the last top three, the last top three ascendancy I think will be like in the skill gap in the game. So we have Infernalist, we have Gemling Legionnaire, and we have Acolyte of Chayula in top like skill-based stuff. Why? Because Acolyte of Chayula has a lot of good things. Number one, Mana Leech is instant. Number two, you cannot recharge Energy Shield, but Mana Leech recovers Energy Shield. Insanely good. Then you can transfer damage taken through mana, which then goes to Energy Shield, and then you can just make a ton of defense. Number three, maximum Chaos Res, and Chaos Res is doubled. Nice defensive node. Number four, 23% chance, 13 and 7% chance to gain 25, 50, and 100% of all damage you do with hits as extra chaos damage. Weird percentage, but you have basically 7% chance to deal double damage, but as extra chaos, like half of it is extra chaos. Number five, we have Waking Dream. You get Into the Breach skill. You gain these like little flames of Chayula that apparently last around 20-25 seconds that you can collect. There are red, blue, and purple flames, and they give you stacking buffs. So you get red flames, leech 7% of max life to you, blue flames is mana, purple flames provide a stacking buff, granting 7% of damage as chaos damage for 5 seconds. This is not extra, this is conversion, so 70% conversion because they stack up to 10 times. But if you choose number 6, Lucid Dreaming, it doubles it. If it doubles it, that means you can get up to 140% of damage as chaos, which means 100% conversion and 40% extra damage. Insanely good node, especially if you can keep it up. It's going to be, this is going to be the bossing spec of skill. So good luck, enjoy it. This one is going to be amazing. And we have 7, 8, and 9. Which we have Removal Spirit, but we gain Darkness. We gain 5 to max Darkness per level, so that's 500 at 100, plus 100, 600 max. For each life or energy shield lost to damage, reserve 1 Darkness instead if possible, and Darkness reservation lasts for 10 seconds. So if you get hit, you have to wait 10 seconds to remove that reservation. Why is that important? Because for 8, we have gain 1% of damage as extra chaos damage per 20 unreserved. If we are level 100, we have 600 unreserved. Then we get 600 divided by 20, 30% of damage is extra chaos damage if we don't get hit. So it's basically get good, get more damage, and that's basically it. And then we have Inner Silence for number 9, reduced darkness reservation duration, so from 10 seconds down to 5. All of the nodes are insanely good. It's very, very, very skill based. So that would be my my breakdown. When it comes to all ascendancies and everything, you can see it on the GGG's website in the announcement parts. You can also hop over to my own website. I have this all written down, and there's also the link here, so you can access the announcements a little bit faster. You can read through these absolutely fine. They're just the same images. But what I would definitely recommend for beginners per class, Sorc, I would do Stormweaver, Warrior, Titan, Ranger, Deadeye, Witch, Bloodmage, Mercenary, Witchhunter, Monk, Invoker for start. If you are feeling saucy, play the other ones, and all of them are going to be awesome based on what we see, other than those 3, Infernalist, Chayula, and Gemling Legionnaire, because they are very, very skill dependent, gear dependent, passive point dependent. So that's the only 3. Those are the only 3 that I will say they will bring the skill ceiling so high with everything combined. Everything else will depend on the player. It's more of a mechanical game than anything. But that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of amazing things coming to early access this Friday. So we have, when you watch this video, less than 2 days to to play, which is amazing. We expect a lot of players to join. But if you've liked this type of video, please do give it a like, sub if you don't mind. We are going on that hype train for PoE 2. So thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. You can click on the links below. You can check out my website. I have guides, I have things, I have PoE for Dummies, helps everywhere. Like we're doing this as a community thing, which is awesome. So thank you guys for that too. We will be updating the PoE 2 stuff together, of course, on stream. There's like all the info and stuff that has been done. But once again, thank you for watching, have a wonderful time, and I will see you in the next PoE video or stream. Have a good one.